Hi everybody, it's Wendy from The Art of My Clay, and I'm back to show you how I made this pendant that I'm wearing using any texture sheet you like and your all-in-one Cabezel mold. You just need your basic clay kit, so your pasta machine, a sharp blade, and some conditioned clay. You can choose to color this however you want. I have chosen to use Gilder's paste and some pinata inks. I really love using the Gilder's paste. It's so easy to do. So step number one, choose your texture sheet. Condition your clay on, let's see, about the second thinnest setting. Turn your machine to the thickest setting. Place your texture sheet on top of your clay. If your clay is sticky, use a release. So use water or some cornstarch or baby powder. Put this through your machine on the thickest setting. When it comes out, this is what you're going to have. And now you're going to need to ink up the texture. So here it is just out of my machine. And then what I've done is I squirted some pinata ink, and I've chosen to use the white one. And I just rubbed it all over an area that was big enough to fit my mold. So that is completely dry now. And one more step before we use the mold, we have to hit the raised area with some other different color. So I'm going to use the Gilder's paste, and I've chosen to use the patina because it's one of my favorites. So you just need to get a little bit on your finger, rub it over the entire area. We have to do this now because when we use our mold, it's going to squish this down. Depends on how hard you press. You can preserve some of the texture, which is a good thing to do because then you can highlight the raised areas again or change your mind and highlight them even with a different color if you want. We want to work on some paper so that when we use our Cabezel mold, it's not going to stick to our tile. So now, like I said, if you don't push very hard, some of that texture will remain raised, and that's a good thing. And with this, we really don't have to press very hard. So start pressing on the line, and then just go around the outside of the line, and then just briefly go over the center, but not too hard, because you want some of that texture left, just in case you change your mind. You don't have to have texture left, but sometimes when I'm halfway through a piece, I'll decide that I don't like the color of the highlighted area, and I want to change my mind. Okay, so I've removed my mold. It comes off nice and easily. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to make this texture around the edge. Now you can see this is already textured, but I don't want this texture to be the same as that. That's personal choice. But now I'm going to get my needle tool, and I'm going to texture the outer area. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. Now I'm just going to freehand a frame around the outside, the bezel portion. So you decide if you want it uneven, you decide if you want it the same thickness all the way around. I don't worry about it too much. I'm just going to do this randomly. And remember, it's easier to turn your paper than it is to move your hand. So there you have it. On this one, I've dipped in here, and I kind of like that look, so I'm just going to go back and fix this up a little bit. Okay, now it's time to fill in the area between the cab and the bezel or the frame with some more ink. So what I've decided to use is my Baja Blue. And what you want to do is just get it in the crevice. And you're going to try not to touch the actual heart, the cabochon. So try to get it, you can bend it away a little bit and just drop it. Move it around. Don't put too much ink on there. And then I want to get it in all those lines that we made. There we go. I don't want to use too much ink. If you miss some areas, you can use your finger to stick it in the oven and bake it for 20 minutes, just so that I can work with it a little more easily. While you're waiting for your heart to come out of the oven, you should clean the gilder's paste off of your mold. Now the best thing for the mold is to just use some warm water with a few drops of soap in it, just your regular dish soap, and then rinse it clear, pat it dry, and put it away in a drawer to store it. Unfortunately, the gilder's paste doesn't come off that easily, so I do find myself using a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a cotton pad, and then once the gilder's paste is removed, I then rinse it in warm water, pat it dry, and then put it away. Okay, my heart has come out of the toaster oven and it is cooled. So now I want to finish up the detailing on the frame. The great thing about gilder's paste is if you make a mistake or change your mind, it doesn't matter, you just go over it again with another color. But for now, let's just do the copper. This is just to give you an idea of how to use your all-in-one heart-shaped mold. I'm sure you'll come up with plenty of ideas. And to turn this into a pendant, you could have made a hole with your needle tool before it went into the oven, but if you forgot to do that, you can add a bail and then string whatever ribbon or chain you want to through it. Or you can choose to drill a little hole. You could even add something to the back and put your string through it, one of those little tubes made of clay. Okay, so here are just a few more similar examples. With this one, I still used the inks and just a very little bit of gilder's paste on the edge, but I didn't use any texture at all. I just used a plain flat piece of clay, and it was actually scrap clay. And then what I did before I baked it, after I had textured the outside, I put a nice slit in it and just spread the two sections of the heart open slightly before it was put in the oven. Once it came out of the oven and it was cooled, I just took some string and started at the back, made some little crisscrosses and tied a little tiny bow and put a little tiny bit of glue underneath that knot so it wouldn't come undone. And just for a little bit more interest, stuck a bead on each end, did another little knot, and then added a little dangle there. This was my steampunk heart. This was the first one I made using this mold. Again, I cut it, did a little split before I baked it. And with this one, because it was a steampunk theme, I decided to use some thin copper wire as my lacing. And then I just added a watch part on top of a piece of colored clay and a button and let the clay ooze up. And to hang this one, I just rolled up a little bit of clay and put it on there. And then on the back, I added some more clay for stability, and then I'm going to cover this over and texture it as well so that you won't even see that. This is just an old part of something. I can't even remember. And again, these are chandelier bits. When we moved into this house, it's an older bungalow, and just about every room had some type of chandelier in it with crystals. And the longer we live here, the less I like the chandeliers, but our dining room one did actually break a few years ago, and it was just covered with so many of these things, so I'm trying to incorporate them into some of my pieces now. These little hearts came off of an old necklace. Okay, here's the last example I'm going to show you. I used my honeycomb texture sheet for this one, and instead of using the needle tool to drag lines out to the edge, I just used, I think, a pen or some kind of a ball stylus maybe, and just poked holes in that before I inked it up. I made my own steel links for this and my own clasp as well. And then I just used some scrap clay that I had lying around, and I had some word stamps, and just made some little danglies to add on there. This one says kiss me, that one says I love you, feed me, love, harmony. And then I made some little hearts out of scrap clay as well. And again, just touched them up with the Gilder's paste and the pinata inks. And then I decided to make a pair of asymmetrical earrings as well, along the same theme. And some more crystals from the chandelier. And as you can see on this one, I used a bail. I didn't poke a hole. So what I did was I just inserted an eye pin down in the clay, or you can add it to the back and then put some other clay on top. And this one I just textured some clay, cut out a quick heart, and then ripped off a scrap and put it on there as well. I liked the look, and then put my name stamp in the back. There's a lot of possibilities with this. I can hardly wait to see what you guys come up with. I hope the video was helpful.